Okay, now in this case, populate people should be the same thing. Instead of stman, we then now going to go pman, and now instead of .get people, we're just going to run the toString, or we could literally just go pman. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, never mind. And now we don't need to worry about the exception here, because the exception has already been caught if there is an exception. Okay. Do you guys get that? So now, yeah, it is. Okay, what? I hear you. I think I've gone through this a little bit quickly because it's only been, I actually don't know how long it's been.
It's fine, that's why we got the YouTube video.
Yeah, but I do want to expand a bit better, so even on the YouTube video you will be able to work with it. But just check, there we go, Sushi 1, favorite food, sushi, days a week per week, 5, and so forth. Sushi 1!
Sons of enemies.
Now,
Except it's adding the food next to the surname.
Okay, so there's a couple of food is, what do you mean, food next to the surname, where?
Pizza, Sherma, Souls of Enemies videos. My name is not Souls.
Oh, that's quite funny. Sushi 1. Okay, so it ended up working, but the reason why that is obviously because this toString must be wrong then. First, surname. That doesn't make any sense.
That's weird.
Oh, so in other words, it's storing in the wrong thing. So basically over here in our person manager, I'm glad you guys picked this up. Ffood, Ffood. You see here, I'm sending through Ffood and then Ffood. So what I should be sending through here is... Well spotted. I actually was just reading that as though it was normal. Alright. So now, to go through this step by step, I'm going to go through how this happens, okay? So first I've created an array. Now what that's basically like doing is, if I use Excel to represent it, is I've created a whole bunch of pointers. So pointer, and you've created literally, in this case, 500 pointers. In this example, I'm not going to create 500 pointers. I'm just going to create, how many are there in the array? Okay, well, whatever. Let's just do 6. 5.
6 of us.
There's 60, which is up to 5. Okay, now, so we've created pointers. And we then have a number to represent how many of them are. So to start off with, I is set at 0. So I is set at 0, so it's saying that we are now working with position 0. Now, in this case, it's then going to go, I've created a method called addPerson, which can receive parameters, and will then allow you to initialize new positions. We'll get back to this when it runs. Because remember, when you press play, what runs? Your public static void main string args runs, doesn't it? So the first thing that this does is actually, this is to create what's called a thread. Now a thread will allow something to happen, or while something else could happen simultaneously within the same program. And this allows for action listeners, blah, 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 to allow for the GUI to run. So when I go here, new GUI, it runs this method here. So it creates an instance of itself, so that it will actually create an instance of the frame, which will then be set visible to be true, so the frame exists. Now all of that's done for you. Init components just initialize the components, so they'll actually be physically displayed. And then the try catch just says, okay, I'm going to try this. If there's an error, do that. So we're going to physically try this. So we're going to try pman. So now that we get to pman, it's going to be over here. Damn it. Let me just pause this for a second. Okay. Now, what we're going to do now, so this is going to initialize new person manager. So we are initializing our person manager. So we're running this method. So our person manager is going to say, there exists a file. So the file exists. So the computer is now aware that there exists a file. It doesn't know anything about it, just knows that it exists. I'm going to see if I can't set this to be on top, always on top. There should be an option, quite easy to do that, but it doesn't look like there is. Okay, I can't set it to be always on top, sad. But okay, so there is a file. The next thing it's doing is setting up a scanner. Now literally, the scanner literally puts a cursor inside the text file, so it's able to read the contents of it. Now the first line that comes over here, so it says while fs.hasNext, so hasNext just says Bob is there, I call the cursor Bob. So Bob, the cursor, can he fix it? Yeah, not bad. Anyway, on the right hand side, which is that way for you guys, it's very awkward. On the right hand side of the cursor, is there more information? Yes or no? Yes. So while if s has next, yes it has next. Then the next line says dot next line. So it's literally going to take the whole line and put it into the string record. So it's going to take this, and it's literally going to put it into a string called record. Okay, I'm actually, rather instead of cutting it, I'm just going to copy and paste it. So it's going to put it into a temporary variable called record. Record is then going to create a scanner of the record. So we're going to put Bob inside the record, and we're going to say, Bob, you're going to stop when you get to hashes. That's your delimiter. That is where you should stop. So we're going to go first name is equal to scr.next, which means that Bob's going to carry on until it gets to its delimiter, which is a hash. So Liam is going to go into the string first name. It's then going to move ahead to after the delimiter, and then it's going to sc next. It's going to put into last name Moore. Do you guys get that? It's then going to put into surname, sorry, F food, it's then going to put into number of exercises 0. It's then going to run the add person method, which is then going to say people person is equal to new person, and this is where we can go back to here. So it's literally going to say position 0 is equal to new person. So I'm going to say this is going to be A4. So let me just say A5 rather. So A5 is going to contain sorry, let me A6. I'll show you now why. The first position of this is going to be first name, which is going to put Liam. The next position of this position array, which is going to be surname, which is going to be Moore. Then your third position is fav food, which is, what is a fav food again in this instance? That's a very nice food. I like it with tomato sauce. And the other time is exercise per week. Now, and that's going to be 0. Okay, so now in this case, so A6, remember, the actual array is literally just an array of pointers. When you actually initialize a new position, it creates a position. So here I'm pointing at A6, and it is of the class type person. So it'll point to A6, and then in A6 we initialize that array. Now if you take a look here, what happens? Num people plus plus. So this is actually num people. I'm going to change this to I here because of it being easier to put into my representation in here. So now I goes plus plus, so I will point to the next position. Do you guys get that? It's then going to go to my backend. It's going to go dot has next. So it's going to go back to the beginning of this loop, and it's going to say while scf dot has next. Now if we go back to people, Bob is over here. Is there more data?
Yes.
Yes. Now remember, next line actually takes the whole line, so Bob would be down there. There is more data, so we'd now be working with Sky. And it would then get the Sky, Dinwoody, Bacon, 6. And then it would add it into the array. Sky, Dinwoody, Bacon, 6. And then this would point to A7. So it creates a new position in RAM, and then it points towards it, and I would be incremented, and so forth until it gets to the end of the array. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to end the video there before it gets too long. But literally, before I do end it, remember the 2 string loops through the array. So all of this would add it to the array, and then in my GUI, when I run display.setXpman.toString, it would print out the contents of this array. So instead of reading it from the storage drive, which is slower, remember, especially if you're dealing with big data, it's now reading directly from RAM. So what would normally happen in a program is at the beginning, as you run the program, you would load it all into RAM. So from your storage device, you load what is needed into RAM, depending on what the user is doing. So at your program, you would have to determine at what point you believe it's worthwhile loading it into RAM, and there will be a point in which that's the case. So in other words, maybe not directly when you run the program, but potentially when you log in, you would want to load anything specific to that user, or for example, when you click there, add booking or something, you would load whatever is applicable to that area there. Cool. Goodbye.
Nice.